You have to ring the bell.
Okay, we're on Perek Shvi, and thank you. I'm still holding on to this thing. Is this the water that has the plastic particles in it? Thank you, Ro.
They said the other day there was something in the paper.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, people who drink bottled water in general should be drinking
thank
water,
you.
'cause all the bottled
Yeah.
water is-
I know, it's all the same. It's just the same. Not exactly.
Whatever it is, fine. Okay, but I am lingering
It's a
on
very interesting article about the microplastics.
Yeah. Where are they coming from?
It's a bottling process, apparently.
I mean, they don't know whether it's, one can assume that it's not going to do you any good, but there's no evidence that that's you.
Absolutely. You remember that?
Okay, here we go. There we go. Okay, thank you, Rob. That was actually very helpful. So we are on page Samachet Amud Bet. Okay, and let me just give you a recap. I handed these sheets out last week. Anyone still have them? I have a few. Oh, here it's good. I have about 3 of them left. Okay, one for me, one for you. Okay, Michael, you have?
Yes, I've got it.
Okay. So here's what we did last week. We had a Mishnah, and the Mishnah gave us on Daf Samach Zayin Amud Bet, Klal Gadol. There were different people who forget different things. And the simple meaning of the Mishnah is that if you forgot, you knew it, but you forgot that there was anything called Shabbos on Shabbos, then you're only chayav 1 chatas for every Shabbos cumulatively until you remember. Okay. The second level was you forgot that the day was Shabbos. You knew about Shabbos, but you forgot that there's a concept. You knew there's a concept of Shabbos, but you forgot that today is Shabbos. And you chayav 1 chatas for each Shabbos. Right, so it could be cumulatively the number is going to be every week another chatas until it adds up until you remember. And then the last level was the person who knew it was Shabbos but forgot the malacha is prohibited, or forgot that this was a malacha, or I forgot the malacha is also on Shabbos. So it would be a cumulative of 39 per Shabbos. You knew it's Shabbos and you forgot the malacha. 1 chatas, maximum cumulative possibility, right? Per av malacha, per av or told of malacha, correct? And the discussion we had last week really was about a tinok shenishba, in which we presented the idea that perhaps the tinok shenishba is going to really be chayav, like a shogeg, which really means that everything on the Mishnah is pushed up 1 level. Okay, and so therefore, and that was Rabbi Shmuel's concept here, and that's the way the handout goes out. That if you never knew it was Shabbos, you chayav 1 korban chatas cumulatively. And let's say, I just can't do this backwards. If you knew about Shabbos, but you forgot the concept of Shabbos, you're going to be chayav for 1 chatas for every Shabbos, and then each of the other levels get moved up continually. And that was found to be unacceptable. Didn't work into all the pieces of the Mishnah, so the Gemara scratched that and came to the conclusion, according to Rav and Shmuel, and this is the premise we're going to work with tonight, is the final concluding premise of Rav and Shmuel at least, that someone who never knew about Shabbos, well, let's start the other way, let's do B first, that a person who knew about Shabbos but forgot it was Shabbos, what I started with this evening is going to be 1 chatas for all the Shabbosim until they finally remember there is a concept called Shabbos. They knew it and they forgot it. And the same law will apply to a tinok shenishba who never learned about it. They're going to be the same thing. So tinok shenishba is going to be, yes, chayav a korban chatas, but it's no greater or no lesser than a person who learned and forgot that there's a concept of Shabbos. They're neither penalized nor rewarded for their complete, not ignorance, but lack of being taught what this is. Tinok shenishba was a tinok was captured as an infant, or the Gemara gave the example of Gersh Neskayer Bein HaNachrim. He was converted, but he remained with non-Jews and still never learned the laws of Shabbos and so forth. And then the last thing we actually pointed out, that there's another opinion, there's the opinion of Rav Yochanan and Reish Lakish, that whereas a person who learned about Shabbos and forgot is going to be chayav 1 chatas for all the Shabbosim. However, tinok shenishba is not penalized. Not only is not penalized, it's considered onus. How could they be responsible for knowing Shabbos? They never had a chance to experience it, to be taught it, to learn what it is. And so therefore we end up with this machlokas between Rav and Shmuel and Rav Yochanan and Reish Lakish. Really revolves around whether tinok shenishba is going to be chayav korban chatas or not. But however, a person who learned and studied and forgot that there was a concept of Shabbos altogether will be chayav one chatas.
There they both agree, really.
There they both agree. That's correct. There they both agreed, and that is to fit into our Mishnah. Right, so in other words, and the case of our Mishnah is Kol Shocheach Ikar Shabbos means he learned and he studied and he forgot. It, according to the opinion of Rav and Shmuel, will mean also a Tinok Shnishba who never learned will become a Chayav one Chatas for Shabbos, and according to Rabbi Yochanan and Shlakish, the Tinok Shnishba will not be Chayav anything. Will get away scot-free or will be exempt because they are considered like an onus. Okay, that's what we're going to pick up. And the Gemara now has a very long brisa that is going to introduce some individual by the name of Munbaz, who I think I was supposed to look up for you, right?
You mentioned it.
Monobaz, okay. I did look it up once, I forgot to look it up over the weekend. Okay.
A little joke.
Okay. So there's more than one. That makes it confusing, right? All right. So there is a kingdom called Adabin, and we have Helena Hamalka, Queen Helena. The Gemara mentions a number of times, and in Sukkah, this is a number of places, and they were converts to Judaism. Okay. There were and Munbaz is mentioned, of course, therefore in the Gemara. He rules as the king of Adabin around 55 CE, and he's alive when the Roman-Jewish War begins. He is known to have given some aid to the first group of rebels. We don't really know what happens to him, but at any rate, he does come up with a number of discussions with the rabbis, and he is considered, on the other hand, like this king of a city-state or a small state, and as a result, also viewed very positively as a person who is keeping mitzvot. Okay, so he's coming in as a real convert, and now it's not clear how much does he convert, what does he convert.
He's a king.
He's a king, right? This little converts. Who converts? Right, so I'm saying, I'm not quite sure if you have to study historically, does he really convert? Because the Gemara seems to feel that he is a convert. He's not coming in as a scholar, but he is a king. He does come into discussions with some of the Chazal, and this is the person who's going to be mentioned here in this discussion. So you'll see what he says is learned, reasonably learned. He has opinions. So that's I believe who we're talking about. There is another Munbaz. Let's make sure we get the right guy. How many more? The right Munbaz, please stand up. Okay. Who's Munbaz the first?
Not a common name. There can't be that many, hopefully.
Right. Okay. So they seem to be confused both together. Okay, I'm not quite sure whose is whose. There's Munbaz 1 and Munbaz the 2. One is married to Queen Helena. One is the son of Queen Helena. Okay. So the second one is, I believe, the one that we're talking about here. Munbaz Jr. Munbaz the second. Okay, don't ask me what the name Munbaz means. Okay, Meisvei. There's a very long brisa, and it's a discussion between Munbaz and between Rabbi Akiva. Okay, so this is significant discussion, right? So, I'm sorry. Let me tell you where we are: 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 lines from the top, and Samachet and Beid. Meitvei. Okay. Samachet and Beid. In fact, why don't I just go back and read the final conclusion? Itmar, Rav Shmuel, Damar Tavaya, and let me go back to 2, 4, 6, 7th line. Itmar, Samachet and Beid. Itmar, we'll start from there. Itmar, Rav Shmuel, Damar Tavaya, Phil Tinak Shneshva ben Anochrim, Vigesh Nagayla ben Anochrim, Kehikil Basov Shochach Dami V'chayev. That's the first opinion of Rav Shmuel, the final conclusion, that both are going to be Tinak Shneshva, and a person who learned and studied and forgot what they were Shabbos will be Chayev, Kormachatas, Rabbi Yochanan, Rav Shimon Lakish, Damar Tavaya, Davka Hikil Basov Shochach is going to be Chayev, Kormachatas, Avatinak Shneshva ben Anochrim, Vigesh Nagayla ben Anochrim is Potter. Okay, that's the chart I showed you before. Meitvei. Klal Gadol Amru B'Shabbos. Okay, so this is a braita that mimics or expands upon our Mishnah. Kol Shochech Ikar Shabbos V'Yasa Malachos Harbe B'Shabbatot Harbe Eino Chayev Ela Achas. Okay, so just follow this carefully. A person who knew that there was Shabbos, right? He knew Ikar Shabbos. He did many malachos. and he forgot about them. He is Eino Chayav Ala Achas. He's chayav for one korban chatas. He seems to have known about them. He seems to have forgotten that today was Shabbos. He knew Iker Shabbos, but forgot today was Shabbos. He's going to be chayav for one Shabbos for each one chayav chatas for each Shabbos. Ketzad. Now look what happens. Tinok shnishba lebein hanachrim, v'ger shniskar bein hanachrim, v'yasam malachos harbe b'shabbasos harbe, ein chayav ela chatas achas. Okay, so it gives an example of this, and the example is about a ger shnisgayer or a tinok shnishba. It's going to become one chatas for knowing Shabbos. Or is it knowing Shabbos, or it's really not knowing Shabbos, and really being chayav one korban chatos? Does that make sense?
Well, the language is the same as the previous line.
Right, correct.
Eino chayav ela achad sounds like the same.
Correct, right, okay. So
here it has the additional word chatas echad, but
correct, one korban. So I think it may be one korban chatas for all the Shabbosim. Okay, v'chayav al hadam. V'chayav al hadam achas. And he's also chayav if he drinks dam all his life, correct? And anything that else that would be a korban chatas, he's chayav one kares for anything that's chayav a korban kares, and he did it all through his life multiple times. He's going to be chayav one korban chatas. V'ala chelev achas, and the same thing for drinking or eating chelev is fats; they're prohibited. V'ala avodah zara achas, and he's going to be chayav for avodah zara, doing multiple avodah zaras. He never learned they're prohibited, and every time he does it, he's going to be chayav one korban chatas. So this seems to be along the lines of Rav Shmuel. Of Rav Shmuel. He never knew about Shabbos. He's going to be.
does it mean for each one or altogether? That's the question.
Well, I think it means altogether.
I think so.
I think it means altogether. So therefore, he will be chayav one korban chatas for the whole thing, for the entire thing. So that will look like it's Rav Shmuel as opposed to Rav Yochanan or Rish Lakish. Ve umunbaz poter. However, munbaz, so this machlokas that we had between Rav Yochanan and Rish Lakish versus Rav Shmuel looks like it's very similar to what Munbaz says, who says that this individual who is a tinok shnishba and so forth is going to be chayav 0. Okay, so in other words, this really dovetails with the Rav Yochanan Rish Lakish. The previous opinion seems to dovetail with Rav and Shmuel. So v'kach chaya munbaz dan lefnei Rabbi Akiva. And now, so munbaz is going to be pater from any kind of obligation for tinok nishba who never learned. In order to be chayav a korban chatas, you have had to learned about it, and did you have to forget it? You would say that, wouldn't you? Okay?
And he's not just giving an opinion, he's giving it in front of Rabbi Akiva.
Well, look what he says. Munbaz learned out in front of Rabbi Akiva, darshan, for the following like a kal v'chomer. In the same way that the Torah calls mazid word chote, uses chote for mazid, and uses the word chote also for shogeg. Ma mazid shohaita lo yediyah, av shogeg shohaita lo yediyah. In the same way that mazid, you had to have had some kind of knowledge base, you had to have known that what you're doing. Obviously, when you do the korban mazid, when you do something mazid, you know at that point that you're doing something wrong. That's what mazid is. But in other words, the same way that mazid, you have to have had knowledge of what it was. So, av shogeg shoita lo yediyah. So, same way with shogeg, you must have had some knowledge. You forgot it, so it's shogeg, but you must have had some knowledge. Ergo, according to Munbaz, if you never had the knowledge, you never had knowledge to start with, you can't be chayiv, you're pater. According to the Chachamim, no. If you had the knowledge and you forgot it, you chayav a korban chatas. Question is, how many korban chatas is okay? But you chayav a korban chatas. That's the basic discussion between Munbaz and Rabbi Akiva. Now it gets further complicated. So once again, it looks like that the Rav Yochanan and Rish Lakish would simply be like Munbaz, and Rabbi Shmuel would be like the Chachamim. Okay, it's interesting. It doesn't really present this as a Tanai. Amalo Rabbi Akiva. So Rabbi Akiva says, well, your logic Munbaz is pretty good, but I'm going to take your knowledge one step forward. That if you were going to compare mazid and shogeg, and what did you say? The same way both of them are called who use the word chote in the Torah. Mm-hmm. So therefore, mazid had to know about this, what they're doing, so shogeg had to know about it. So says Rabbi Akiva to Munbaz, based upon your knowledge, if you really want to compare them, then shogeg should know something now as well. In other words, the same way that the mazid person knows what they're doing, knows they're doing wrong, so the shogeg person should know they're doing something wrong. Now you're going to say, well, if they know they're doing something wrong, what are they shogeg?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's going to have to be, so this is where it's going. So you have to know something, but you have to not know everything. Okay, so let's say that you knew, for example, that something is prohibited on Shabbos, but you didn't know what the punishment would be.
So what? You still don't
Yeah, you
know.
still
Don't
know
say
it's
so.
prohibited.
You can say so what, but we'll see if Munbaz and Rabbi Kiva will say so what too. But actually, I can give you an argument why not knowing what the punishment would be would have an implication, right? There are many things that you know you cannot do, but you do anyway, right? Let's say you're driving on the highway and it's 100 kilometers of zone. Who is not going to go 115? Everybody will go 115. You go 119. Right? In fact, you go on the 407, they were cruising along in 125, right? And you know they're not going to pull me over unless I do 135 or 130. Well, it's wrong, but you don't really feel there's a punishment, right? And and in fact, probably historically, if they pulled you over, you probably can get the points knocked down, and they'll give you a fine. Okay, pay a couple of.
But you're still, if you get pulled over, you're still known that you did something wrong.
But you wouldn't go more than 50 kilometers over the speed limit because they can confiscate your car.
Correct.
Okay, or or more, at least they're going to give you a serious ticket and you'll get points and you pay insurance fees, etc., etc. All I'm saying is there are things you don't do or things that you do that you're not really scared of doing that are really not right because there's no punishment.
Or because the punishment is
Minimal.
Is minimal.
Correct.
But it's still, that it's not right.
So my example is not correct because you know what the punishment is or isn't. But if you knew that there was something on Shabbos that you couldn't do, but you didn't understand fully what the consequences would be, financially, spiritually, carbon-wise, is that really knowing about what it is?
Well, there's lots of punishments that are karet. Okay.
Okay.
Well,
that's pretty.
Okay, so but I don't know what karet really means. Like karet.
Okay, so we all like to believe that we do these things because we ethically and morally feel they make us a better person. Schar mitzvah, right? And mitzvah, goreres mitzvah, all these kinds of things. No one really sits and is clocking things down. How many mitzvah stamps? How many avera stamps do I have? But the reality is, the bottom line is, if you were to give someone a hasra, you'd have to warn them what they're doing and what would be the consequence. So if you didn't know, let's say, so in other words, the argument is going to be, and this is going to be the gist of the argument you'll see in a moment, what happens if you didn't know everything about the law that you were breaking? So you didn't know that you had to bring a carbon chatas. Or you didn't know that you're going to get a car race if you did it b'mezid. Right? You didn't fully understand what the extension would be if you did it purposely. Yes? Mr. Richter.
When a person was collecting wood.
Right. He didn't know.
He was collecting wood.
Yes.
And even Moshe didn't know
what the penalty.
He didn't know what the penalty was. He had to go to Hashem and say, "What's the penalty?"
So what did he do wrong? Correct.
Yeah.
It's a good question. How would he know?
Maybe he knew he didn't want to.
Yeah.
Maybe he knew he didn't want to say.
No.
Moshe didn't know. How could he know?
Right.
I mean,
Was he warned? Did they give him Masra? What's going on in the case? Very murky. You're right.
He didn't know that.
Okay, so that you're asking really a question on the story in the Torah. Right, we're kind of discussing, once we have everything in place, right? The Makoshish is difficult, the Makalil is difficult, the law seems to be fairly new for us when we read it every year in the Torah. What was the warning, what wasn't the warning, but we're dealing now with what is considered a mazid or what is considered a shogeg.
So you focus, we're going to...
I'm sorry?
They thought there was an error in the car,
And he thought he was carrying?
and you carried it.
So then, so the normal cases where you right, that would be an example that would maybe
I know the halacha that
Right.
I have to have an error.
Right.
I thought the city had
You
an
thought the
error.
city had an Erev, or you thought you were inside a house, or you thought you were inside someone's yard, and you found it was public property. Yeah, you're right. That's going to be a little different type of shogeg. Correct. That's right. Good point. Excellent.
That's why I was just curious whether we get to whether they're going to only focus on the punishment, or like Mark just said, other aspects, right? Like you thought you could do. This wasn't really 2 stitches, whatever. In other words, you knew there was a malacha kind of, but it wasn't clear to you 100%
Right.
that this was.
So and it's
that's not
right.
a
So it's
punishment,
clear.
more
It's
like-
clear that you knew something.
Oh yeah,
right?
clear you knew something.
Now, you and I would probably have said, and I think that's some of the unease I'm hearing around here, that if you knew something, that would be considered mazid. Well, we don't like calling people mazid because that sounds very harsh and archaic and
Yeah, but
you know.
it's
No, but he
true.
just said.
But it's true.
No, but he just said. He just said with the Eru, for example, you know that there is, and you think there's an Eru, so that's like an innocent violation.
Right,
in that
correct.
sense, right?
That's something
But
right.
it's still amazing.
No, he's talking about a case where shogeg, where you didn't know it was an
that's
Eruv.
shogeg.
That's right.
That's shogeg. You didn't know there was no. He didn't know there was no Eruv. He didn't know the Eruv didn't exist in that
If you
area.
didn't know anything, then you're
Right.
altogether, let's say, like Latino, right? Where you're assuming you know something, but you don't think that actually you're committing an Avera at that
Right.
point. Because if you did, then it would be intentional.
Right.
You don't think you're committing an Avera, it turns out that you did,
Right.
but
But so let's go back into our Gemara and try to take it a little further and see how this all kind of spills out. So let's go back to how we got into this. Munbaz says that a tinok shenishba is going to be pater.
absolutely.
Why? So you probably felt pater because what did he do wrong?
Didn't know anything.
Right. Munbaz and Rabbi Kiva are going to really argue about the scriptural basis because that's how they think. And even Munbaz, who you know some of his history now, he's not necessarily in the highest share. He's a learned guy. You see, he's been involved in this discussion. He says, "Why do I have to think that a tinok shenishba is pater? Because he never learned. And the same way that a mazid knows what he's doing, so too a shogeg had the same way that a mazid had to know what he was doing, and in fact still knows it. So too the shogeg had to know what he was
At some
doing.
yeda.
At some point he had to know something, and now he forgot it. So Rabbi Kiva's response back to him is, if you, Mr. Munbaz or King Munbaz or Prince Munbaz, are saying this, so then let's take it to its natural extension. The same way the Mamezid did know and has to know now, so too a shogeg did know and still has to know. Now the obviously question is, well then it's not a shogeg, it's going to be a mazid. So the response that's going to come in here, here's we're going to split some hairs, is to say, well, he knows something, but he doesn't know something else. When Mazid knows on everything else. Mazid knows the ball of wax. He knows what he's doing wrong. He knows why he's doing wrong. He knows what the punishment is and so forth. Shogeg doesn't understand it fully. Something is missing in the equation. Okay. Now, by the way, in Mazid there are two levels. The person who does it because they're just kind of, I don't know, they want to eat chazer. And then the one who really says, I don't even like chazer, I'm just doing it to spite God.
Whatever it's called, mumar or kosher.
There's a mumar lahachis and mumar lateavo. Mumar means everything. Okay, lahachis is the one who's
Lahachis.
right. No, there's mumar lateavo and a mumar lahachis.
Right.
But a mumar means a guy who left everything. But a mumar only from one mitzvah. Let's go back to the story because I told you guys it's a complicated piece of Gemara. Okay, this is the easy part. Okay, so I'm telling you, I really don't know how far I'm going to go with this. Amala Rabbi Akiva. So Rabbi Akiva says to Munbaz, you gave me this gzeira shava, this hekesh, chote. So hareini mosif al dvarecha. I'm going to add to your words. Ima mezid shoysa yadir b'shas ma'isa av shogig shoysa lo yadir b'shas ma'isa. Same way the mezid knew it when he did it. So to the shogig should know it when he did it. Now he expected, of course, Munbaz's argument to collapse. Right, which is what you were expecting to happen, and guess what Munbaz says? Amar lo hein. You're right. You're corrd. V'chol sheken shosafta. Amar lo shosafta. So Amar lo. So Rabbi Kiva said to him, Lidvarecha ein zeh kori shogeg elamezid katani elamezid. This is really only considered mazid. It's not going to be considered shogeg. So in other words, this is the argument back and forth between Munbaz and between Rabbi Akiva. And that's the end of this long breita. And you're going to see for a little bit further on that Munbaz actually is going to say that what did the person not know? Let's see if I get this correct. I hope I get this correct. Is the person did not know his chayv karban. Okay, he knew what's wrong. In other words, I knew that I even knew it's a lav. But I did know, a little bit of a lav. It's a lav, but I didn't realize that if I do it, I get a carbon. Even such a person like that is considered not having the full knowledge. So otherwise, if you say he knows everything, because if he knows everything, that's mazid. Which is what Rabbi Kiva is saying back to Munbaz. So that's the back and forth between Munbaz. Munbaz's response is not fully clarified here, where Munbaz says, you're right, let's go for it. And then Rabbi Kiva kind of says, well, if that's the case, it's going to be considered like a mazid. Okay, now, having said all this long brisa, and let's just keep the brisa because we're going to deal with it as we go through the sugya. The Gemara says, Katani mihas. We learned, however, in this brisa, Kesa Tino. What is an example of a person who is chayav one korban chatas for every single Shabbos? Right? It's the Tinok Shenishba. So Bishlam al Rav Shmuel Nichalei. So according to Rav Shmuel, who said that not only there's a person who studied and forgot bringing korban chatas, but the Tinok Shenishba also brings the korban chatas. So that makes sense. This is the second line, the Rav Shmuel, according to their conclusion. But according to Bishlam Rav Shmuel Nichalei, Rav Yochanan, Rav Shimon Lakish, kasha. So it doesn't make sense because according to Rav Shimon Lakish, Rish Lakish and Rav Yochanan, the Tinok Shenishba should be chayav 0 korban chatases. And the argument about Munbaz has to deal with whether you need to know or don't need to know, but the reality is they're playing it out over Tinok Shenishba. So this brisa that we just said, according to Shitas Chachamim at least, which is really the first half of the brisa until they get to the end of it, where Munbaz and Rabbi Kiva duke it out, seems to go really according to Rabbi Shmuel, or Rabbi Shmuel seemed to go according to this brisa, and does not seem to follow Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish. Okay, so that's the question the Gemara has, which is really going back to the machlokas about Rabbi Shmuel versus Rish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan. So Amalacha Rabbi Yochanan Rish Lakish. So what would Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish say? Because they're not here to ask them now. Lo mi ika munbaz the pater. In the end of this brisa, we introduced munbaz. So what does munbaz say? Pater. So I'm not bringing munbaz. We're going to follow munbaz. Don't scare us off by bringing this brisa. We're going to follow munbaz. In other words, it's really like a tanoi without the name of a tanoi. Saying this machlokas between Rav and Shmuel and Rabbi Yochanan and Rav Shimon Lakish is going to be the same machlokas as the beginning of the brisa and Rabbi Kiva versus Munbaz. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Say it is clear.
They're treating Munbaz like a Tana.
Correct. Which is the finish of treating Munbaz like a Tana. They're giving him the validity of going up against Rabbi Kiva, which he does appear to have. Okay? Which he does appear to have. Okay? We live in a very democratic society. There's no lineage, no yichus here.
Rabbi Yochanan was no like that.
Okay, correct. None of them are. Okay, so that's the first piece that ties us into Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yochanan Rish Lakish and Rav and Shmuel kind of thing about Tinok Shenishba. Now that we put Munbaz on the ground, we got to flesh out what he's really saying here. Okay, so the difficult part about the sugya, there are a lot of psukim. I'm going to try not to get bogged down with the psukim. Okay, so my time with the Munbaz. Okay, what's the reason for Munbaz? He made this, he said, chote and back and forth. That doesn't really seem to be the full reason for it. So he says like this, T'chsiv, Torah chas yelachem lo se b'shkaga. There's a pasuk in Bamidbar says, Torah chas yelachem lo se b'shkaga, v'samach lei, and right after it, and I think it's the word of Avodah v'nefesh asher taseh b'yad ramah. So within one or two psukim, and maybe pasuk back to back, there's one pasuk that talks about the person doing mishkaga, and the next one talks about nefesh asher taseh b'yad ramah, who does it with an outstretched arm. So it's not just chote, random one word. It's really about systematically, the chapter in chapter 15 in Bamidbar seems to first talk about shogeg, and then the next pasuk talks about doing something b'mezid. Hekish shogeg l'mezid. Ma mezid shoysa lo yediyah, av shogeg shoysa lo yediyah. In the same way that mezid, you have to have knowledge, you have to know about it, so too, shogeg, you have to have knowledge. Okay, so it's really saying the same thing as before, only it's giving us a different source for it. This source is more, well, it is a source that's combining two psukim, comparing one pasuk with the next. It's more logical. It's a contextual kind of drash. It makes more sense. So the Gemara says, okay, that's great. Now, Rabbanan, who are the Rabbanan? The Rabbanan seem to be like the Rabbi Kiva argument, or the other side, the anti Munbaz piece, which would be the first part of the brisa and really Rabbi Kiva. So Rabbanan, What are they going to do with this drash of Munbaz? Munbaz ostensibly had these two psukim in Bamidbar Perek Tedvav. One talks about shogeg, one talks about mazid. Makes the comparison that they both, even a shogeg has to have some kind of knowledge. Rabbanan hay Torah chas mayav delay. So what are the Chachamim going to do with this pasuk? And in fact, I guess we should add to this that it says Torah chas. It's talking about one Torah, so it's meant to be a comparing, saying that the Torah exists to a person doing mishkaga, and the next pasuk, which is nefesh asher taseh biyad ramah. So you're comparing the two. So what are they going to do? What do they learn from it? They're going to learn this like the drasha that Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi taught to his son. Okay? Torah chas yelachem lo seh b'shkaga. This is the pasuk that we're learning from. Uksiv. And then it says a little bit later in the very same perek, it says v'chisishku v'lo tasu es kol mitzvos ha'eleh. And it says the nefesh asher taseh biyad ramah. This is all the same context within 2 or 3 psukim of each other. One pasuk says Torah chas for doing bishkaga. One pasuk says you're going to make a mistake and not do the mitzvos. And the next one v'nefesh asher taseh biyad ramah means to say we said it was a drasha for doing b'mezid, but the pasuk's context is specifically talking about avodah zarah. What do they learn from this? Hukshu kulam avodah zarah. Shogeg and mazid is all compared to avodah zarah. Ma lahal and davar shechayv mazadon kares v'shirgas chatas. Of kol davar shechayv mazadon kares v'shirgam chatas. So the same way, what will make someone have to bring a carbon chatas? What will you have to bring a carbon chatas for doing something b'shogeg? That if you were to do this aveira b'mazid, you'd be chayv kares. So then if you did a b'shogeg, you're going to be chayiv to bring a carbon. Did I say it correctly? If you did a b'mezid, you chayiv kares. Right. Then if you did the same aveira b'shogeg, right, you would be chayiv to have to bring a carbon chatas. Instead of kares. And if there were no, and in most cases, if there were no kares, you would not bring a carbon chatas by doing this lav. Right. So therefore, and the reason they're learning it to avodah zarah, because avodah zarah is compared and equal to kol mitzvos. So in other words, as if to say we have a connection. It says Torah achas. We're comparing everything. We're comparing it to avodah zarah, which is like Torah achas, the entire Torah, and we're comparing the carbon of shogeg to all the aveiros to like avodah zarah. In the same way that avodah zarah, you don't bring a carbon chatas except if you did it by shogeg, unless because you would do it by mazid, you'd be chayav kares. So therefore, anything in the Torah you wouldn't bring a carbon chatas except for something that mazid would be bringing a carbon, being chayav a kares. Thank you. Got it. Okay. So this is what the Chachamim learn in place of Munbaz's drash, to equalize all the use of all the psukim.
Right, it's almost a different, I wouldn't say different,
it's a different approach.
Almost a whole chiddush,
right.
Well, not a chiddush, but a rule, let's say, involving mishgaga and mazid, if you're chayav kares.
Right. That's correct. Right. So now we come back to Munbaz. Vela Munbaz shkaga b'mai. Okay, so according to Munbaz,
what is shkaga?
What is shkaga? Right? What is shkaga? And especially his psukim seem to be talking about korban chatas there a little bit. So the Gemara says kugon sheshagag b'korban. So this is the sheet of Munbaz, which I told you, which you all got excited about before. According to Munbaz, I know you don't follow Munbaz necessarily, but according to Munbaz, what makes something a shogeg? What did he actually forget? What was the piece that was missing when he did this? He knew. In other words, what Rabbi Kiva said back to Munbaz, hey, if you gotta know it the same way Mazid knows, you gotta know for shogeg too. And Munbaz doesn't really respond. In fact, Munbaz seems to encourage Rabbi Kiva almost, even though we don't have the final response. So the answer is that Munbaz says, you knew everything that you're doing, you knew that it's wrong to do this, but you did not know the punishment in doing this was going to be a carbon chatas that you have to bring for doing this by accident. Okay? But you did know you're doing it. So if you know that it's wrong, if you know that it's a lav, and you understand that the Torah says not to do it, but you didn't know that you bring a carbon chatas, Munbaz is going to say that you're going to be chayav the carbon chatas because that's considered a shogeg. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you didn't know you had to bring the korban. You will have to bring it, but you still didn't
Correct.
know it's your shogeg.
The reason that you have to bring the korban chatas, which is the expiation for doing a shogeg, is because you didn't know you have to go and bring a korban chatas. But you could have known the rest of what's going on is wrong.
Is bringing a korban the least punishment you could have
The
done?
question is whether it's a punishment or an expiation. The question is, is forgiveness or is it really?
Probably the least. You don't get the makas, right? And all that.
You could go back and forth. Okay, I'm not sure how to really, if you can define it and prove it one way or the other. But the bottom line is we have two definitions of korban, of mezid and shogeg. So that's why I tried to say before, and I know I got a little pushback here from around the table, that if you didn't understand the punishment, right, it's considered shogeg.
According to Munbaz.
According to Munbaz at least. I said there's some logic to it, at least in my mind, even though if we don't follow Munbaz, because if you didn't really fully understand the extent of what you're doing, it's a mitigating circumstance. You can't really say that you're doing it b'mezid, because I didn't really know what I'm doing. I didn't know what the consequence was going to be.
Didn't fully know what I was doing.
I didn't understand what I was getting into, right? So, in other words, it's almost like I'm saying, I guess I don't want to give too many examples that you'll knock me down, but like a juvenile court, where they say that the juvenile did not fully understand what his actions were going to lead to, the seriousness of what he did. Same way, we are like juveniles when we do something and don't appreciate that it can lead to a korban chatas. This is very difficult for us to understand, because today, of course, we don't have a korban chatas. No one thinks in terms of korban chatas, with your account. Right. Remember, there was. Did we do it in the first parak where there was? You're not supposed to read by the light of a candle.
Yes.
And who was it? Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, I don't remember. Who did? And either he was going to push it over to lean it over, or he did. And according to the version he did, he wrote down in his pinkas in his diary that he owes a korban chatas. He's going to bring a fat korban chatas when the Beis Hamikdash is built. I forgot, was Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Eloi, someone else, okay? So that's the same kind of thing. We don't think like that, right? Korban chatas is something we say in Musaf. Korban chatas is something we do in the laning. But really, in terms of reality life that we're going to talk about, we don't really look at it. By the way, I understand, I heard on the grapevine that Rabbi Krupkin is talking about Karbanos in the third Beis Hamikdash, and Shabbos HaGadol Drasha. I heard that third or fourth hand. Come and find out. Okay?
Maybe we should hold. Maybe we hold like the Rambam, who held that the korbanos are never coming back.
Maybe come in here. I don't know. I'll be there. Okay. You and I will compare notes at the end of the world. Okay. But that's we don't really think like that. I mean, very few people. We read, we daven, we say the musaf. Musaf is about bringing korban musaf. We talk about chatas. We learn about chatas, and yet it's like far away in some kind of virtual kind of imagination. Okay. Sheibana Beis Hamikdash mehera, right? Okay. Okay, so that's going to be munbaz. So shgaga b'mai kagon sheshagag b'karban. Okay, now that would be so easy to accept. That's relatively easy to accept for munbaz, because first of all, munbaz is a single individual, right? What does he know? He's a guy who showed up from outside the faith. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, but they're going to be the next response is going to be a little more problematic. Okay, Rabbanan. So if you don't accept munbaz, so what is really going to be shogeg? So they're really, we know what it's not. It can't be you forgot it's korban chatas. But there are really two approaches the Gemara is going to give an answer. One is very logical, and one is you're going to rebel against probably. Okay, Rabbanan shegas korban lav shmei shgaga. Okay, so that's what the Chachamim disagree with munbaz. Just knowing that you didn't bring that you're just forgetting to bring a korban is not considered shogeg. So what is the Rabbanan going to say as a shogeg? Rabbanan shgaga b'mai. Okay, what's going to be the definition of shogeg? So we have Rav Yochanan or Reish Lakish. Also, we had them before. This are independent of really, they're not the same guys, but it's really not connected to the previous one. B'mai. So Rabbanan shogeg b'mai. Rav Yochanan or Kevan sheshogeg b'kares afal pi shehezid b'lav. Okay, so the first approach of Rav Yochanan, which is one that's very difficult to accept for us as Westerners, perhaps, that if you knew everything about that you're doing, okay, but you didn't know, even if you knew that doing this aveira will bring you a korban chatas, and you knew that there's a lav, but you didn't know that if you did it b'mezid you're going to get a kares, that's still considered shogeg.
It's interesting.
Say it again.
Munbaz, except it's a different thing you didn't know.
It's a way of it's an answer that you didn't expect to hear, right? You expected to hear the next answer, which is Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish amar ad sheyishgog belav hakares. So you have to know, in other words, what he's really saying, it's not about really not the korban chatas forgetting. It's really you didn't know it's a lav. You didn't know you're going to bring a kakar. You're not going to have kares. So in other words, but if you didn't even know it was a lav. So Reish Lakish says that sheyishgog belav hakares. Okay. Now the Gemara has to really try to explain it.
So that last one, you didn't know it's a lav. What's the koreit part? You didn't know it was also.
He knows also kares. He knows also kares. Correct. In other words, you didn't know anything about it.
Right.
Okay. I mean, the first one is more difficult, but shogeg is it's going to be considered shogeg, even if you knew it was wrong, and you're going to see it's based upon psukim, and once again they feel they're locked into the psukim. Okay, maybe okay or not okay, I'm not sure. So Amarava, my time in Rav Shimon ben Lakish. So what's the reason for Reish Lakish, who gives the more logical one that says you don't have to know really that you didn't know it was a lav Amakra? And once again, there's a very very specific psukim. We'll try to just keep it surface level. Ashelo tasena v'yashem. Said that you did it. Ashelo tasena b'shgog v'yashem ad sheyishgog belav v'karei shabal. Okay, so they learn out from the pasuk the tasena is not to do it, means you can't do it. And ashamed and you're guilty means that you didn't know what the punishment was, and you didn't even know it was a lav. Okay, so you didn't know nothing. So they learned that from the pasuk tasena that you did do. You're going to do something that you're not supposed to do. So you see that you didn't know that you're not supposed to do it. Rav Yochanan Haikra, the Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, the Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, my avalei. So what's Rav Yochanan going to do with that drasha? Mi bayalei lechenetanya. Has a different purpose for this drash. It says me'ama aretz. So there are two drashes here in this brisa. The first one is not going to be applicable to us, but it's a good halacha to know. Me'ama aretz. It says that you're not that they can if the amaretz do the avera prat lemumar, that a person who is a mumar is not going to be able to bring a korban chatas to get expiation. So if they're a mumar and they've denied all of the mitzvos, they can't simply say they forgot about doing a mitzvah. Rav Shimon Lazar Omer Mishum Rav Shimon, here's what we want. Asher lo teasena b'shkagav yashem. Hashav midiaso mevi korban ashegaso. That a person who, if they knew about if they had known about the avera, they would return. They bring the korban. Lo shav midiaso eno mevi korban ashegaso. But if they had known about it and they would not have returned, then they don't bring a korban shogeg. In other words, we define shogeg according to who are we doing this now? It's according to Rav Yochanan.
Rabbi over Rabbi Shimon bar.
Rabbi Shimon. Yeah, Rabbi Shimon.
No, Rav Yochanan High Quad Rav Shimon. Right. This is Rav Yochanan. Rav Shimon Lazar. Right. So we're trying to explain now Reish Lakish, who says that you're potter from that's called shogeg. I'm going to make sure I got the right people here. Just give me a moment. Okay, shogeg of course we should belav. Reish Lakish shogeg belav again. Right, so the two of them are whether you had to know. According to let's make sure we got it straight. Rav Yochanan says that you didn't know about you made the shogeg and kares even though you knew the lav, and Reish Lakish says that you didn't even know the lav. Right, Reish Lakish is the more logical one. Mm-hmm. So we asked what's Rav Shimon Lakish. So he gave a reason to say that which is the more logical one, that it says Asher lo te'asena v'yashem. That you didn't know that you're doing what's wrong. That makes sense. And now Rav Yochanan, who's illogical, right, who says that what was your shogeg? You didn't know that kares, even though you knew the lav, you knew it was lav. So what does the pasuk come to teach us about Asher lo te'asena? So he says that comes to tell us that if you have to look at what was the reason that made you turn away from doing the avera. If you had known,
didn't do the avera, let's say, what made you turn away from?
If you did the avera,
right.
What would have turned you away?
Right.
if you had known about the Aveira, would you have done the Aveira or not? Okay. Hashav midiaso maybe karban ashigaso. Lo shav midiaso eno maybe karban ashigaso. The only time that we're actually going to be considered chayav shogeg, this is an additional kind of requirement, that if you had known about the Aveira, then you would not have done it. If you had known what is going to bring you, which in terms of Rav Yochanan will be the car race, then you wouldn't have turned around. If you did know about what the car race, if you had known about the car race, you would still have done the Aveira. That's not considered shogeg. So we have to make some kind of assessment like that. So those, it's really a separate kind of reason, separate kind of drash in terms of learning why. What is one of the requirements to declare to be shogeg? You have to be able, you did know that there's kares, and then we have to determine if you had known it was kares, would that have turned you away?
Yeah.
Right? So if that would have turned you away, then you're shogeg. If we can determine that even if you had known that you would get a kares, you would still do it, then it still wouldn't be considered shogeg. That's the drash. The point of it being there is another drash for Rav Yochanan to fit into the drash of Rav Shimon Lakish. Okay. Let's go on. Tnan. Avos malachos arba'im chaser achas. So this is the Mishnah that's going to come up later. We had learned it a while ago, right? This Mishnah of 30 time malachos. Ve'avinan ba, and we asked in the Gemara, minyan alamali, why is there the listing of 39 of 39 or 40 minus 1 when we already can count it ourselves? The Amar Rav Yochanan, Rav Yochanan said in that Gemara, Shemasan kol behel mechad chayva kol achas v'achas, that if you did all of them and you forgot about each malacha, you're going to be chayav for each one, right? Maximum of 39.
That's why they were listed.
Correct. Okay. The Gemara says, Heiche mishkachas lei. The Gemara says, Heiche mishkachas lei. What is the case we're talking about? Bezadon Shabbos v'shigos malacha. Okay, so we're talking about when you knew it's Shabbos, and what did you not know? How many malachas? You didn't know each malacha. So Bishlam on Rabbi Yochanan, the Amar came and Shishagag b'kares, Afal b'shehezid b'lav mishkachas lei. According to Rabbi Yochanan, it says, what was your shogeg? The shogeg, according to Munbaz, the shogeg was you bring karban chatas. According to the Chachamim, we gave two interpretations. According to Rav Yochanan, the illogical one, what didn't you know? You didn't know you bring karban chatas because you did. You're not chayav kares, right? Cave on the shogeg b'kares, afal b'shehezid b'lav mishkachas leikagon shiyad al Shabbos b'lav. So you knew the case we're talking about. You knew that the Shabbos is chayav alav, and therefore you're going to have a case where the case is Zadon Shabbos. You can have Zad on Shabbos, and you can have Shigas Malachos. So what did you know in the Shigas Malachos? I didn't know the Malachos. What was Zad on Shabbos? So I know it means Zad on Shabbos and Alavim, and Shigas Malachos in not bringing kares. So I know it's Shabbos. Right. I know that I know the lav. I even know the lav about all the malachos. But what don't I know? I don't know that I have to be chayav kares if I did them all on purpose. So therefore, I knew Shabbos. We're saying I know Shabbos. I know everything. The one thing I'm missing, I didn't know the malachos chayav and kares.
Right.
That's the example according to Rav Yochanan. Mm-hmm. So Ella. So Ella Rav Shimon Lakish, the Yamarat Shiyishkog Belav Kares. So that the shogeg has to be. I didn't know the lav, and I don't know kares. So the other leila Shabbos b'mai. What did I know about Shabbos? In other words, what does it mean to know Shabbos?
If I didn't know there was a lav,
right? I knew Shabbos, but I didn't know the malachas. So what did I know? Now, as according to Rav Yochanan, I knew the Shabbos. I knew 39 malachas. All I did know is that each malacha gets kares. So that's considered shogeg. That's considered zadon for Shabbos. Because I knew it was Shabbos, and for the malachos, it's considered shogeg, but because I just was missing that one piece. Mm-hmm. But according to the other approach, which appears to be the more logical approach, that shogeg means I forgot everything about the lav. So what did I know about Shabbos? What do you mean you knew Shabbos and you forgot the malachos? And therefore I'm chayav for Shabbos, but part for the malachos. So what did I know? You're going to say, well, you know the beauty of Shabbos, you know the resting of Shabbos, right? That's where the Gemara is going to give an answer in a different format. So the Gemara.
You knew you couldn't do malacha. You just had no idea what a malacha was.
So what did you know?
You knew there's such a thing as malachas, but you didn't know what they are. I know.
So, but then it wouldn't be knowing, right?
Maybe you wanted.
So it means because according to Rabbi, according to Reish Lakish, the shogeg has to be lav and kares.
Right.
So you have to know nothing about the malachas. So what do you know? So for us, it's a difficult question because we all can talk about the beauty of Shabbos and the restful Shabbos and the relaxation, the moral values, the equality of everybody. But Chazal, who look at Shabbos from a halachic construct, said, what's really going on here? Okay, so the Gemara says, B'mai. So the Gemara answers, Diyada b'tchumin. So what did you know? You knew that there was an Isser of tchumin, okay, which is really not related to Shabbos malachos. It's a separate prohibition. It's not airy-fairy about resting and relaxing and the unity of God, this kind of stuff we talk about, right? That's, by the way, I don't airy-fairy negatively, but airy-fairy, it's not malacha. There is a prohibition that you can't go beyond a certain distance. Now, that happens to be a machlokas, whether that is really rabbinic, or whether it's considered a Torah level, and even the Torah level is the Torah level considered alpine 2,000 amos, or is it maybe even more? But there is a concept of tchumin min Torah according to Rabbi Kiva. What we call tchumin is really min Torah according to Rabbi Kiva. The tchumin is doraisa. Okay, and it's a Gemara in Masechet Sota that talks about it, and Rabbi Kiva's opinion is a well-known opinion. And therefore, what did you know? You thought that all the malachos are really permitted. You didn't know there's a prohibition of malachos, but you knew there's an Isra of Tchumin. Okay, so that's enough. So then you knew there's a concept of Shabbos, and I guess in another format we would say that Shabbos is a day of rest. Right? For us, we don't, on our modern construct, we don't even really look at malachos, at tchumim of Shabbos, because most of us live in big cities, which are contiguous, right? So therefore, you can walk and walk and walk and walk. Your tchumim wouldn't even start probably before, I'm not even sure, maybe the airport, I'm not even sure, maybe before or after. And going north, I don't know. I mean, you got to measure it out. There's, supposed to be every 70 amos. But it's only 70 amos once you get out of a yishuv. No one says in the middle of an inhabited area that suddenly if two houses are 80 amos apart, that you start to count the Tchum Shabbos. Right? So it's hard to really say what we would consider Tchum Shabbos. What's interesting is if you look in the Gemara, when it talks about Tchumim, they're talking about two changing your Tchum, moving your Tchum one way, the other way, because the cities were so small, to go from one city to the next, to go from Richmond Hill to Thornhill, you would be going out of the Tchum. Okay? I do remember actually there was some discussion at one point about people up in there, whether they could walk here or back and right.
Doesn't it go one way or something?
One way you could go, one way you couldn't go.
Doesn't make any sense.
How'd it go?
I don't remember. One way you could go.
Well, the way it worked out was they didn't let the Bachrim come down to Thornhill, but they let the parents go up and visit the Bachrim and the yeshiva.
Oh, that was on a logic.
I can never
That was
understand.
So I can understand it, but I'm not sure if it works out in the jog. The understanding is,
Halachic or was political?
Well,
I don't know.
That was always my question. I was never sure. But Rabbi Yeres says you can understand.
so in other words, the tchum begins when you leave the inhabited area, then you start counting 2,000 amos.
Okay.
So it's possible that maybe on their side, I'm trying to think. I'm not sure if it works now. Let me try to think this out. But if you leave on their side and at one point Ner Yisrael was very isolated. So you pretty much were starting right away. Now where would you reach? So then you could only reach. I'm not sure where would it go. How
It
could
doesn't
only?
matter. 2,000 each
Right,
way.
it should be 2,000 each way. I guess it should be 2,000 each way. I don't know why it would work one way, not the other. I don't know.
My son explained it.
Halachically?
I didn't understand.
Oh,
Because I guess because they consider even when you reach the next place, you're still counting 2,000 amos. That's why.
why?
Because his 2,000, I'm not sure. Once again, it gets confused in my mind. I don't know. But here's what I do know. By the way, there is now an Eruv, okay. And the moment you have an Eruv, even if it's uninhabited areas, that's within that you don't count the 2,000 amos.
Right.
So that has changed the situation.
The
So
Eruv closes the uninhabited.
The construction over the last 20 or 30
Correct.
years between now and here and there.
Right. So maybe because the Eruv, when they walked up from here, they walked up to the Eruv, and that's where they started counting. And therefore, for the yeshiva, they would start counting from the yeshiva, and they had to keep counting. But they had to start counting right. That's what I think it was. We start counting from the yeshiva right away, and even if they get to the beginning of the Eruv, they still have to count, and that would not stretch down to Thornhill. Walking up from Thornhill, you begin the Eruv at the Highway 7, and then you can still stretch it as far as Ner Yisrael, something like that. I think that's how I understood it. I'm not sure. Take it off the tape, okay?
Oh, I see. For the Eruv, you can start.
In other words, once you start your tchum even goes, even if you end up with some inhabited area. You don't simply say, I reached the inhabited area, now I wipe it out. It means that's as far as I can go.
Once you start to trum.
Once I start counting the Tchum Shabbos, I'm gals for 2,000 amos.
Right, but when you go back.
But where am I starting it from? So I'm starting it from there. Once I hit 2,000 amos, I'm probably somewhere up near Flamingo.
Okay, and the other way?
And the other way, well, let's say I'm somewhere near where Westmount is.
Whatever.
So the other way, I don't start counting at Westmount. I start counting from the 407, from the fence, the highway fence.
So you're saying, okay, just let me get.
So that's what it is. That's what it was.
So
right?
you're saying when you. One way you start from the end of the Eruv.
You never start before the end of the Eruv. The Eruv is considered like your house. It's all considered one Rosh Hashanah, one Carmelis.
Even though you've hit the Eruv, it still doesn't count.
Right. The Eruv is not a stop. The Eruv just continue. You just keep going.
So what do you have to hit? You have to hit inhabited Eruv.
You hit 2,000 amos and you stop dead in your tracks. So
Even
though if you're now in another city, your tchum ends at that point.
Oh.
I think that's what it is. Okay.
But I thought once you get to the other one, it doesn't.
You don't. Over? No, that's the end because you start Tchum Shabbos. I think that's what it is. Tchum Shabbos is even in the middle of the city.
Your tchum,
right. That's what I believe it was.
Yeah, but I thought
right.
once you get into a tchum, you recalculate, you resets. What do I know?
Okay, so at any rate, so what he's really saying, what the real answer is, if you want to transpose it into your modern setting, that you understand that Shabbos has certain laws of rest and relaxation, and there's Zohar and Shomer. That's probably also just another kind of thing. You knew that the Zohar and Shomer is Yom HaShabbos, right? We always say, it's Shabbos because you can't do malacha, but of course in this kind of scenario, they had no idea what malacha is in order to make this shogeg for malachos. Okay, let's see now. Maybe we'll just do quickly the next piece, and we'll put a break here. Let's see if I can do this, okay? So at any rate, this is the real answer, so you know that it's chumin and so forth. Man tana laha de tan rabbanan. Who's going to be the author of the following brisa? Shogag b'zeh uv'zeh, zeh shogeg kamar b'torah. If you made a shogeg, if you were shogeg in Shabbos and in Malachas, so that's what the Torah says is shogeg. Hazid b'zeh v'zeh. If you did mazid for Shabbos and for Malachas, zui mazid amar b'torah. Shogeg b'Shabbos v'hazid b'Malachos, or shogeg b'Malachos v'hazid b'Shabbos. Right, either you made shogeg in Shabbos, or you did mazid malachas, or shogeg b'malachos v'hazid b'Shabbos. So, Osha Amar Yodeni shemalachta zu asura, ava ein yodeh shechayav malev karbon olo. So I don't know that I know that a malacha is also, but I don't know that I have to bring a carbon. So olo chayav, I'm chayav a carbon chatas. In other words, that's all considered examples of shogeg. So the Gemara says, "Come on, whose opinion will this follow? What did he know? What didn't he know? He knew." In the very last piece of this long brisa is he knew that this malach is aser, but what didn't he know? He did not know. Aval ein yodeh shechayav malav karban.
That was Munbaz's original.
Right. So the Gemara says, "Oh, Chayav Kaman, whose opinion is this?" Kamunbaz. Okay. So that will take us up to here. Now, what we're going to have next week, if you can only wait, okay. It's going to talk actually about Shvuz Bitoy. It's going to talk about cases. What if there is no carbon, or what if there's no carbon? What happens if there is no carbon? What if you have an aveira that there's no carbon chatas or no kares? We'll see what is it. How does that affect the definition of what shogeg is? Okay, and then that will take us to about the first third of the page, and then in the middle of the first third of the page, then we'll get to the Gemara about the person who forgets it's Shabbos and is wandering in the desert. That Gemara I want to do with you. And then I have to decide what happens after that. If I keep moving ahead, or I skip some pieces and keep moving ahead, or we go to the second parak. But I've got to wait to kind of tough that out and make a decision. Okay, just a final note. So we're assuming that all things being equal, Monday night we're on, right? What about the Monday of Pesach Chol Hamoed?
I'm not here, so
I'm not here either.
I don't know. I may be busy with grandchildren. Okay.
just skip me.
Okay.
Again, if a couple of guys are not here.
All right. So you know what? So we'll meet next week, and for the
Skip
weekend
over
for the week skip the one week, so we'll be back on the week after that. Is that fair? That gives me kind of 2 weeks to figure out what happens after the next Pesach. Okay.
Just skipping Pesach the week.
I will say, we're just skipping one Monday night. Okay. Pesach is Shabbos and Sunday.
Yeah.
Right? Your wife will need you to help clean up the mess that was left anyway from the Sidarim, so that's a good reason. Okay.